Welcome back to Big Mouth and welcome to the newly titled Big Mouth Daily. I explain why I'm calling my daily show the Big Mouth Daily from here on in. Remember, you can tag me and speak to me and have a conversation with me. Have more than one conversation with me over on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. So give me a follow on there. So the reason we're changing the name to the Big Mouth Daily is because by calling it the DCEU Daily or even the DCEU MCU Daily, which I've done before as well, it just means I'm pigeonholed. If there's something going on in entertainment, film, television, or even in current affairs, I want to be able to talk about it. So DC and the geek stuff and the entertainment stuff will always come first, but I want this to be a show where we can literally talk about anything. So if you've got any suggestions, please give me a tag and let me know over at Movies TV Mad on Twitter. So as the title says, with no further ado, I have seen a test screening of James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, and I'm so excited to talk about this film with you today. No spoilers. First of all, I can't afford to be sued, and I wouldn't do that anyway. This is just my thoughts and feelings of the film, and maybe let you kind of think my thoughts and feelings about some of the characters as well. So basically, I did apply for this opportunity. I didn't think I'd get it. I have seen test screenings before. I remember seeing the Aquaman test screening many, many years ago and being really happy and giving some great feedback on this very channel about that film. So going in to see this film, I expected this to be really like Guardians of the Galaxy, which is absolutely fine because I love both those movies. I know some people don't like Volume 2, but I actually love that film as well. James Gunn has this ability to create banter, a group of people, a bunch of misfits that you really want to spend time with. And he does it again in his Suicide Squad movie. But this film was way beyond what I thought it would be. Because actually, it's not a copy and paste of his normal concepts, like what he's done with the two Guardians of the Galaxy movies. This film is hilarious, but it's also dark, and it's also damn tragic. So he has compared it to The Deadly Dozen. And is that what you call it, The Deadly Dozen? Now, The Deadly Dozen is a film that has a group of people going to a mission, and a lot of these people die. One of the things I'm going to say, again, without giving anything away, we all knew people were going to die in James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, but I was shocked in who died in this film. And let's remember here, this is a test screening. Things change. The reason they have test screenings is so if they see some negative feedback, they change a few things, or, so James knows what he's doing. I imagine not much is going to change from this movie, but you never know. I don't think they're going to change who dies, but maybe if people lose their shit in the test screenings, other people. I didn't. I was shocked. I was genuinely shocked who died in this movie. But I think this makes it an even better movie because literally when you see who dies in this film, you think, Jesus Christ, this film is not afraid to have consequences. I think one of the big differences with this film is it's an R-rated picture. And so James can really, this is James Gunn, Untamed. I don't think we've ever seen James Gunn Untamed before, and he is. I just want to thank Walter Hamada for getting in there and getting James Gunn when he was sacked for those offensive tweets. Walter Hamada would have been taking a big gamble, not on the guy's ability to write and direct a great movie. And by the way, this is a great movie, and this is better than the Suicide Squad movie we got in 2016 and the extended edition. I'm going to say that straight off the bat. Now, I'm not putting down David Ayer. Those are not David Ayer's movies or vision, right? They're his sequences, he directed them, but he didn't put this movie together. Let's be absolutely clear. Now, I actually love the theatrical version of Suicide Squad and the expanded edition as well. So I actually like those versions of that film, but James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, it leaps and bounds more entertaining, more cohesive. And what's interesting about this film as well is the characters that he brought along from the first film. I think evolve. There's an evolution. I like what David did with those characters in the first movie, but Harley definitely evolves brilliantly. Captain Boomerang evolves, and I tell you what, this is not me giving anything away, but I do love the dynamic between Rick Flag and Harley, because Rick Flag and Harley in the first film don't particularly have much time for each other. In the first film, Rick Flag threatens to kill her, tells her to shut her mouth and stuff like that. So those relationships have really evolved, and it's like what James does here. He's not a child in this film. He accepts that we've already seen Harley Quinn, Rick Flag, and Captain Boomerang, and that's great because their story continues and evolves around these characters we've only just met. So just fantastic. And what also I like is the way these existing characters from this first movie actually work so well with these brand new actors and brand new characters as well. It really is. I mean, I don't know, as I say, if this is the final cut. Normally test screenings, they don't show you the final cut. They want to give you an idea. They want you to form an opinion on what they're attempting to do, but not necessarily the final cut. But it could be the final cut. That would be interesting. But if it's the final cut, I would imagine we wouldn't be getting a test screening of it now, would we? So, yes, this look, if this is the direction that Walter Hamada and DC and Warner Brothers Pictures are going in, I'm very happy. I think I would be very happy to have creatives like James Gunn writing and directing a picture, being left alone to do these things, because it's clear, and James has told us, as Matt Reeves has told us, they've been left alone to make their movies. So get these kind of creatives in. Now, it's interesting with Andrew Muschietti, he's directing the picture, but it was written by Christina Hodson. Now, I don't know if the screen story was written by Christina Hodson and Andrew Muschietti, and she did the screenplay. Maybe that's the case. I would like that. I like my directors to, not just tell the actors how to perform, and that's great. That's a big part of a movie and a story or a TV drama or a sitcom or anything. That's a big job that they do. I'm not reducing what they do. But I like my directors that in the movies I watch and love to be able to write it and direct it, because it means it's totally their vision and there's no other minds in it. I like that. Now, some directors like a collaborative effort where they direct the picture and maybe they construct the story but let someone else do the screenplay. So there's different ways of making a great picture. And make no mistake, James Gunn's The Suicide Squad is a great picture. Now, I did interrupt myself talking about Walter Hamada. Yeah, going off to get James Gunn was a very, risky situation. Let me tell you why. First of all, he's an MCU director. So DC fans in general wouldn't have been happy about this. I was excited. I thought this was a great move. The guy's brilliant. He knows how to make a satisfying, crowd-pleasing movie. You just feel so fantastic after you've seen Guardians of the Galaxy or Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I haven't seen James' other movies previous to the MCU ones, by the way. But, yeah, this film, you do feel $1 million after you've seen it. I mean, you do cry in places and you laugh. It's everything. So they don't avoid being dark in this movie. You would expect that with it being an R-rated picture. So I think Walter Hamada really took a gamble bringing this guy on. Not because of his ability, but because of what he was sacked for. And other reasons as well. So I think it was a big move by Walter to go out and get him. It's a big move. Look, they're going to love this film. You're all going to love this film. The critics are going to love this film. It's so, they won't be straying too far from what we saw, I'm sure of it. But so entertaining. The action, he's never directed action as this good before. And he's a really good action director, by the way. But he's also a motivator, James Gunn. He can get actors on his side. Look at how his cast, reacted to his firing. 2 or 3 of them threatened not to come back. And I'm sure half the cast, or maybe all the cast, didn't want to come back. So people are very loyal to James Gunn. People like James Gunn. Let me tell you James Gunn's background in terms of fandom. James Gunn grew up on the films I did. You and me did. A lot of us did anyway. I don't want to assume that you're all my age, right? But 48, so I'm getting on. So I don't want to offend anyone. James Gunn grew up with Jaws, Raiders of the Lost Ark, the indie movies, Back to the Future. So they're the movies he's inspired by. So they're kind of the movies he makes, not kind of copying and pasting them, but the environment and atmosphere around them, these crowd-pleasing blockbusters. And I think that the DCEU is desperate for some crowd-pleasing blockbusters. I think Aquaman does that job. I think Shazam does that job as well. I think those are, those films are absolutely crowd-pleasers. But I think when you look at the movies that Walter Hamada, really put together and put the people together, he came in, he was very much involved when he came in with the remainder of the shoot of Aquaman. He guided what was going on that and what was going to be part of it and what wasn't. $1 billion in the box office, global box office. Shazam may not have made big box office, but it made a profit, and it was a very entertaining, crowd-pleasing movie as well. They're the movies he was really involved with. Now, he was in charge when Joker movie was put together. Joker movie wasn't really anything there that he did in the sense of Todd Phillip. It was him who had the idea for the film and to do a DC Dark franchise, which doesn't look like it's happening at this moment in time. And the studio, according to Todd Phillips, actually Walter Hamada and Toby Emmerich kind of were a bit unsure about the movie, but no one's got a globe right. Nobody knows the future. But I think if you do look at Shazam and Aquaman, the big successes, especially if you talk about the fans. I heard a fan the other day telling me that Shazam's his best DCEU movie. And you're saying to me, oh my God, Mick, how can that be so? Because we all love different things, right? Not everyone can be inspired by Zack's movies. I am. I love them. You are. You love them. But everyone likes something different. So let me just repeat to you that this is not just a comedy. This has got so many different elements to it. And I was so shocked how dark this movie becomes at times. And it's a brutal movie. There's a lot of heart in this movie, by the way. You will see some heart in this movie. I don't know if some of you are going to be happy about the heart you see in this movie. Something did happen. Let me just say that. In terms of romance, I don't want to say too much. But I was very pleased. It's something I also predicted as well in my other videos. So you're going to have to start watching my other videos to try and work out what I'm talking about. I'm sure you have better things to do, by the way. So you can tell I'm very happy with James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. And so I think one of the best performances in this film, apart from Margot Robbie's and Joe Kinnaman's, really brilliant performances, but John Cena as Peacemaker. I mean, the whole cast is amazing, but he really is fantastic in this movie. We're talking about an ex-wrestler, so there's an opinion, there's a reputation that goes with that, isn't there? But he really is fantastic, and you can, from the way he's been directed and written by James Gunn, you can tell he's got a lot to say about this character. And this film literally really makes me excited for the Peacemaker movie. It's going to be amazing. So he was absolutely fantastic. He's a ruthless, brutal character who does believe in peace, but he will kill as many people to get that peace. So there's this, I suppose it's ironic. There's this hypocrisy about the character, isn't it? And I actually really love it. So yeah, John Cena, brilliant in this role. I really enjoyed him. You just feel like you're in a James Gunn movie. I will say that, but that doesn't change me saying that this is very different to his Guardians movies. Very different to both Guardians movies, because that's the MCU. This is the DCEU, and we're doing something a little bit different here. And I think James has helped with this film in the sense that we're not in the interconnected universe yet. After Flashpoint happens, things will connect together a lot easier. But I will say the interconnectivity from the David Ayer's first Suicide Squad movie to this movie, it's there. You really believe that those three characters were in the first film. He doesn't try and give you kind of the red pill like they do in Torchwood, where they want you to forget. They want to wipe your mind. It's not about that. This isn't really, look, it's continuing from that story, but they're not really dealing with the threads of that story. But he did decide to use three of those characters. I suspect the studio kind of said, you have to work with these people. We want a kind of connectivity to the first film. We do want this to be a sequel, but a sequel of sorts at least, because we want this to be an interconnected franchise. And I think that was the right decision. Or maybe, I don't think he would have had a choice. I mean, he'd be mad not to, involve Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn in this movie. And Harley is absolutely fantastic. Some great laughs, some dark stuff as well from her in this movie. She really does go through. I think this may be, and I liked her in the first film, I think this may be her best appearance. No, damn it, it is her best appearance in the DCEU thus far. Now, what she does in Birds of Prey is fine. I ain't got a problem with the character in Birds of Prey. It's the toxic commentary that film was making I have an issue with. I think that's a fine, entertaining movie. It doesn't stick in the memory for me, but I think what James, and I always said I would love James to do a Harley Quinn movie. Don't want to talk about that too much at this moment in time, but she's brilliant in this movie and she shines. Brilliant actor, brilliantly written. This is the Harley Quinn I want to see more of. So that really, really excited me. But all the new characters. And by the way, let's talk about Mr. Peter Capaldi, Mr. Doctor Who. So he was the Doctor. He played the Doctor before Jodie Whittaker. He was amazing. He's a big Doctor Who fan. I'm not just saying this because I'm a biased Doctor Who fan. Peter Capaldi is, if John Cena was great, this guy was miles even better than him. I mean, Peter Capaldi's an actor, a trained actor. Let's not forget that. But he's amazing. I mean, I've always liked the Thinker as a character, but he really does find something really interesting and intense about this character. He can also be funny. He can also be ruthless and brutal and a very dark character as well because of what the Thinker can do. And he's very connected to this story. Let's just say that again without giving anything away. The pacing of this film is beautiful. This film knows how to do action, but it also knows how to have characters just talking. James Gunn's also always been very good at that. So it's not just wall-to-wall action, but there's lots of action. It's brilliant, thumping action, and you're going to enjoy the action. There's action in this film you've never seen done in this way before. And James Gunn has got I think what James Gunn has got great balance within his skills as a storyteller and a director. He can do the banter. He can get these groups of misfits together. But he can also develop characters, do great dialogue and have those talky moments that don't end up being boring for the younger audience. Not that the younger audience should be watching because it's R-rated, but maybe younger people in terms of, 21, 22, people like that. So you've got the action, you've got the talky stuff. This film has it all because James Gunn has it all. I know a lot of people will be saying to me, oh, yeah, you're liking the Central Universe now. Well, to be honest with you, I've always been excited about what Hamada is doing. I want to restore the Snyderverse. There's no question about that. But just because I'm here for Zack as well, it doesn't mean I'm just here for Zack. I'm here for DC in general. And look, this film was always going to be great. I never really doubted it. The only thing that shocks me, it's miles better than I thought it was going to be. I'm totally surprised. The quality is up there. In terms, I don't think we've seen a DCEU film as good as this for a long time. And I'm not counting Zack Snyder's Justice League because that was supposed to be after Wonder Woman, wasn't it? So I put it in that order rather than, and I do use it as canon, even though there's certain elements of the film like the Atlantis stuff that don't really connect to the Central Universe. So we're not talking about Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut here. So I'm talking about, the recent films we've had. I mean, the recent DCEU films we've had Aquaman, we've had Shazam. We had Birds of Prey, we had Wonder Woman 84. So this is like the fifth film. And I think this film, and I like those other films. The problem with those other films, they don't connect to the rest of the franchise that much. Although, surprisingly, Shazam has many Easter eggs to Zack's universe, which I think is amazing. Newspaper clippings, the bat thing, whatever you call it, a bat, whatever it is, right? They use that a lot. They use the bat symbol a lot. So they do make, before I carry on with my conversation about James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, I will say this, that David F. Sandberg is fucking everything. I want this franchise to have going forward. The other day, he pretended to leak the ending of Shazam! Fury of the Gods. I love this guy. This guy is everything you want. He doesn't take himself seriously. Started off as a YouTuber. He's so talented. He gave us a great first Shazam movie, and he's a fan of DC as well, which I love. So I've got so much time for David F. Sandberg, and I think he will bring in Henry Cavill. Look, all I'm going to say is this. He is desperate for Henry Cavill to be in Fury of the Gods. What he doesn't want to do is leak and start talking about something that might not happen because of scheduling problems. So David's great. So we've got some great directors working in this central universe. I also believe that Andy Muschietti and his sister Barbara will be running kind of, I suppose you could look at them like Zack Snyder when he was running the main kind of arc of the DCEU. I do believe that Andy may direct the next Justice League movie as well for the central universe as well. I'm not sure on that, but I think Andy is very important. Andy's directing the most important film in kind of rejigging the road and the destiny of the DCEU, which means the company value him a great deal, or at least Walter does, because, you know, he's from New Line Cinema. That's where Walter Hamada was before, running New Line Cinema. And let me just say this as well. The people from New Line Cinema that Walter's brought in have been very successful with the DC projects they've done. And I see nothing different with Andy Muschietti. Andy Muschietti hasn't got the hugest of CVs, but I don't think you need one. Richard Donner didn't have a huge CV when he did Superman the movie. Zack Snyder didn't have the hugest of CVs when he did Man of Steel and BVS and Zack Snyder's Justice League as well. So a bigger CV doesn't mean anything. Steven Spielberg's done some right awful movies, and you wouldn't think he would. So everyone has their share of bombs. So I don't see that as an issue. Right. So going back to James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, there is a bit that you just can't help but cry in it. And I think this is what's so amazing about this film, that it makes you laugh. Like James Gunn always likes to make you laugh. And these characters become a family. And what's brilliant about this is so many of them fucking die. So because James creates this family environment, and he does that on the set as well as in the story, of course, with all his movies, especially his Guardians movies, and now with his Suicide Squad movie. So when you do lose someone, it really hits home. There's not one character, right? People are saying, well, there's some unimportant characters. No one is underdeveloped in this movie. So whenever somebody dies, even if you think, well, I expected this one to die anyway, it really hits hard. Every death matters. That's one of the great achievements of this movie, that every person, every character matters. And I just love James for that. But it's part of his ability, of course, and this is what's so important. We are going in a different direction with the DC Extended Universe. We are going to a more central-based universe, trying to attract more of the normies and the mainstream audience, but not totally just making forgettable movies either. And who knows what the future of the Snyderverse is. But I will say to you that this film is brilliant. And as I've already said, beyond my wildest expectations. Just brilliant. And the music is sensational in this movie, both the composed music and the songs that they choose. I don't know if this is a final soundtrack for the film either. All I can say is what I heard in the film was absolutely phenomenal and fantastic. Who's my favourite character in this movie? Thinking MOJ. Well, it's not that difficult for me. Harley would be the easy one. Peacemaker would be the easy one. But I'm going to say Rick Flag, a.k.a. Joel Kinnaman. For me, this guy is fantastic. I loved him in the first film. He's got great quality. I also love Jay Courtney's Captain Boomerang. But I think that Joe Kinnaman's Rick Flag, wow. I'm just going to say wow. Absolutely my favourite character. And it matters. It matters that they were able to create a great character with Rick Flag in the first film. And because he's literally, I think he's your emotional anchor in a lot of ways in the first film, right? And he's definitely your emotional anchor in this film. Keep an eye on Rick Flag in this film, and I think you're really, really going to enjoy his performance. But this film, look, it depends what you want from a movie. If you're really obsessed with Zach's movies and you've made your mind up already that you're not going to embrace what they're doing and you feel that they're not doing the right things and they're not making the right decisions, you're going to come in from a negative position and you're probably going to say, whatever happens, you don't like this movie. Where I applied for the test screening because I wanted to see it. I believed in this movie. I believe in this director. I think it's great for the DCEU to have someone like James making these movies, and I hope he'll make more, and I think he'll make more. I think he's all in because he's doing the HBO Max spin-off as well. So he's shaping the world. So as you can see, as we discussed yesterday, that this is universes within a universe, and it's something that James, it's something that Walter Hamada always planned for. So absolutely fantastic. I really enjoyed this film, and I can't wait till you get to see this film as well. But if this is the curtain raiser for the future of the DC Extended Universe, oh boy, what have we got to look forward to? So Grace Randolph, should I say that name again? Grace Randolph, that's how you say her name, right? Had another interview with Zack Snyder over on her YouTube channel. She's got access to Zack. I'm very envious. But anyway, we were kind of wondering about this, wasn't we? We were wondering if Zack was going to tell us to pipe down about Restore the Snyderverse. He seems very, very happy to for us to keep on fighting for the Snyderverse. And this is some of what he said, if I can find it here on my mentions. Let's have a look. Here we are. This is some of what he said anyway. The fans are the ones who buy the tickets and support the film. They create the awareness and are the priceless marketing of the film. Zack Snyder. And that's what he said, partly what he said on the Grace Randolph interview. He's also still talking about an Atom movie in China. He'd love to do that. I don't know if he's ever going to have the possibilities and the realistic opportunity to do a film like that. Why would an Atom movie in China be genius? Well, basically, China, if you don't know this, the Chinese love the DCEU. It makes a lot of money over there. To have an Asian character, an Asian superhero, and to actually base an Asian superhero story in China would be freaking genius. I don't know if this would be possible. We know how strict the Chinese are over there as well, if it would be allowed. But at this moment in time, it's not a reality. So some positive sounds from Zack Snyder. So keep on hashtagging Restore the Snyderverse. I was never going to stop anyway. Well, unless Zack really said don't do it. But I don't think that's ever going to happen. He wants to tell his Justice League 2 and Justice League 3 story, so I don't think that's an issue. And let me see if I've got this name right. Moving on a bit to Aquaman 2. Apparently, the guy who played Eon Greyjoy, is that how you say his name? Has been cast for a mysterious role in James Wan's, starring Jason Momoa, Aquaman 2. Now, this kind of casting and these kind of moves is why I have faith in the new direction of the DCEU. It means they are trying. They do have a plan. They're not just bullshitting their way through it like some people suggest. Now, let's move on to the MCU. Now, the episode 5 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier has hit Disney+. I will be watching this later on and talking about it in tomorrow's Big Mouth Daily. So I will be reviewing it. But let's do a little preview right now. In one of my other daily videos, I spoke about Carly maybe being the next Captain America. And I'd be really, really happy about that because I like the actor and I like the character and I love the concept of the Flag Smashers. But I just had a little, as I paused this video and took a little break, I had a little thought. I think we may go down the road of them having no Captain America. I think maybe this is the statement the TV show is trying to make, that in this era, in this generation, in this polarizing society, maybe Captain America is no longer right for our society because of the nationalistic standpoint the character represents. Now, personally, I love Chris Evans' Captain America. I'd love him to suit up as the character again. That's very, very unlikely, but who knows if we'll get a Chris Evans kind of Captain America cameo. Well, listen, as far as I'm concerned, Steve Rogers, old man Steve Rogers, is still alive. But there's a big question here, and I don't know what happened in episode 5. I can tell you, I've been told there is a post-credit scene, and it's a whopper of one, apparently. But I think someone kind of really important is going to take that serum. And old man Steve, this could be a theory, old man Steve could take it, become young Steve again, and reclaim his Captain America role. Who knows? That's possible. Unlikely, but possible. But it's also possible they'll say the world shouldn't have a Captain America anymore, not in the environment that we're in. We could get that. But I think someone is definitely going to take that serum. Could be Bucky, could be Sam Wilson, could be anyone. I think the reason it's this one left is because someone's going to take it, or someone could just crush it on the floor to make this significant point. I don't know. So we could get any of those scenarios. But right now, I think looking at the first 4 episodes, as I've said, I haven't seen episode 5 yet. It does seem that maybe they're going to make the statement that maybe we shouldn't have a Captain America at this moment in time. Because with all this talk of who's going to be the next Captain America, it could be, or could have been, a whole misdirection. I don't think it's as obvious and easy as Sam Wilson just becoming the new Cap. But of course, that's the way it could go. I'm okay with that. But he will never be as awesome. He will never have the stature of Steve Rogers and Chris Evans' portrayal as Steve Rogers, because Steve Rogers is the ultimate Captain America. It's not about what community you're from, not what colour you are. It's about the actor in question. And I haven't seen anyone thus far in the MCU who can take up this mantle the way Steve Rogers did, the way Chris Evans did as Steve Rogers. That's just my personal opinion. I'm really looking forward to seeing the next episode tonight because I like watching it. Dim the lights. It's nighttime. No sunlight getting on my screen. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. And I'd love your feedback. What do you think? Is Sam Wilson going to be the next Captain America? Will they say no Captain America? Do you agree with me that someone is going to take that vial or be tempted and maybe destroy that vial of serum? I mean, I don't have a clue. This show is actually quite unpredictable thus far. There's some people who don't like this show. I think it is a very political show. There's no question about it. And I think if you're on the right side of the political argument, you're going to be kind of triggered with what they're saying in this show. There's no question about it. You know what? From my own point of view, my personal political standpoint, I don't know where I stand politically anymore because we live in such a polarizing society, as we've discussed so many times on these daily shows. I mean, who knows? I mean, where can we stand? It seems that everyone's wrong now. It does seem that way. It doesn't. I thought about this the other day, and I thought, whatever way we stand these days politically, someone else is going to tear it to pieces, kind of constructively and intelligently. So I don't know anymore. I do know I'm enjoying this show. I think it's a great entry into the MCU. Now, if you don't like that, that's your truth, and you don't have to like anything you don't like. You can even talk about it publicly. You can even comment here on the Big Mouth Daily and let me know why you don't like this entry into the MCU. But there are a lot of things going on in entertainment, and I'm going to just have a little scroll to see what else we can discuss. So I have found a couple of things we can discuss quickly. Gabriel Luna, who portrayed Ghost Rider on ABC's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I thought he did a great job as Ghost Rider on that show, is joining the cast of HBO's adaptation of The Last of Us. Now, I'm really excited about this show. I love the game. This should be awesome. And this is another great piece of casting. We've already got Pedro Pascal in this show as well. So I am very, very excited to see where they're going with this. And it couldn't be in better hands than on HBO. So that's awesome. Kevin Feige reveals Sam Raimi's Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness officially wrapped filming this week. So it could have already wrapped, but that's great. That's another MCU film done and dusted. And we're heading back to the theatres. Of course, this is not out till next year. I'm still confused. Is Spider-Man 3 out at the end of this year? It is it? I think so anyway. So I'm looking forward to that. So that's your news for today. And I tell you what, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness has always been one of my picks for Phase 4. When I heard that being picked out at whatever conventions they were doing it at, I just thought this film's going to be awesome. And then when you find out Sam Raimi's doing it, the potential of how great this could be, well, I think this is going to be even better than it was going to be originally. And finally today, we have some points from superfan Scott Edwards. So let's see what he's got for me today. Remember, you can tag me over on Twitter on my timeline and make some points so I can read them out here. Make suggestions for articles or talking points or anything else. So let's see what Scott's got to say. At Movies TV Mad, for the next DCEU Daily, David Ramsey is currently filming for Supergirl as John Diggle, and it looks like he's wearing a ring in the set photos. Are you going to watch all the episodes he's in? Are you hoping to see him as Green Lantern? I am desperate, Scott, to see David Ramsey as this version of Green Lantern. I hope this is happening. I imagine this is happening. And I tell you what, I don't normally watch Supergirl. I haven't watched it for years. But yes, absolutely, I want to see what they're doing with David Ramsey. And we may even get him in the Green Lantern Corps TV show as well. So that's really exciting. At Movies TV Mad, and my MCU question for tomorrow is, do you think Wanda will be a villain in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, or an ally to Doctor Strange? I think she's going to be in the middle of both those kind of things that you're wondering about, Scott. She's not going to be a villain, and I don't think she will be the villain. Yeah, I don't think she's the problem in this film. I don't think she's the villain. I think she's definitely going to stand with Doctor Strange, but I think there will be disagreements between these two characters. What's fascinating about this, she is the Scarlet Witch, and he is the Wizard Supreme, or whatever they call him, right? So they're two different sides of the same coins. So I think this is why it's so exciting that these two are going to be together. You may see a kind of them doing their magic against each other, but that'd be a tame thing. But I definitely think she's certainly not the villain of this movie. They had an opportunity to make her the villain of Phase 4 in WandaVision. I was excited about that potential. They decided not to do that, which kind of underwhelmed me a little bit, but she's going to be there with him. She's going to stand with him, and you're going to get a lot more MCU cameos in that film. So I'm, as I've said already, really looking forward to Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness next year. Benny Cumberbatch is brilliant. How brilliant is he that he's involved in both Sherlock, one of the best versions of Sherlock Holmes ever, and in the MCU. Well, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the brand new titled Big Mouth Daily. What do you think of my thoughts about James Gunn's The Suicide Squad and everything else I've discussed today? Comments down below. Go follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. Like, share and subscribe, and I'll be back tomorrow with even more Big Mouth Daily. See you again soon.